Okay, we've got two functions here, and we want to find f over g of x and state the domain. So this symbol here is kind of just a fancy way, or maybe a more concise way, I guess would be a better way to say that, a more concise way of saying take the function f and divide it by the function g. So this object here, f over g of x, this is really this, f of x over g of x. And I mean, we can say the same thing for addition. If we see this means, you know, add the functions together or subtract them. If we see multiplication in there, you know, that's what that means, f times g. We're going to see an open dot later on. We absolutely don't want to confuse the open dot with the closed dot. The closed dot indicates multiplication. The open dot is composition, and we'll talk about that later. But for now, this is multiplication, so we need to multiply these, f of x times g of x. So that's essentially what we're doing. With this, usually when we see this in a textbook, they'll have to say, provided that g of x is not 0, just because it's a fraction now, and we can't have a 0 in the denominator. All right, so we have those wonderful rules. We only really need to find this quotient here and state the domain. So this is the one we're dealing with presently, and we can do that. So we've got f over g, we've got f here, f over g at x. This is f square root x over g. G is x plus 2. So we found it. Here's the quotient of the two functions. There's f right there, there's g on the bottom. And now we just need to say what the domain is. So part of the hint here for domain is right there, right? We can't have the denominator be 0. And we already knew that because it's a fraction. We can't divide by 0. So we have to worry about that. We also have to worry about the radical, though, because we can't have, maybe I'll grab a different color. So we can't have a negative in here. So we have to have x greater than or equal to 0. And this stuff, we can't have this be identically 0. So this, you know, x plus 2 can't be 0. So these are our two, facts, I guess, we're going to use to construct our domain. So we have to have x bigger than 0. We can't have x equal negative 2. So I can't have negative 2, and I've got to have it be bigger than or equal to 0. Well, this kind of covers this up. So let's look at a number line. So this one says I want x to be bigger than 0. 0's here. So I need to be here and this way, right? This says that I cannot have x equal negative 2. Well, negative 2 is over here. I mean, that's not in this interval anyway, so we don't even have to worry about that. So our only interval that we have here is 0 to infinity, and we can write that, 0 to infinity. And I need a bracket instead of a parentheses because we do include it, right? Because we can have a 0 in there. All right, so we found our domain, we found our quotient, and we are done.